ABC's Marcy Gonzalez tells us about the terror group claiming that they were behind the plot and how the suspects' families have been responding to those news.
Today, ISIS claiming responsibility for the failed attack in Texas. The terror group saying they were behind the plan to ambush Sunday night's controversial event, which featured artists drawing cartoons of the Prophet Muhammad. The contest was hosted by the American Freedom Defense Initiative, which the Southern Poverty Law Center calls an anti-Muslim hate group.
We are here for freedom. Everything else is smear.
One of the two suspects killed by police after shooting and injuring an unarmed security guard outside of the event was on the FBI's radar. 30-year-old Elton Simpson writing, "Soon you won't be able to live in America as a Muslim. The noose is tightening," in a March 14th Twitter message seen by the FBI and obtained by ABC News. On April 10th, he tweeted, "Time is short." On April 23rd, he wrote of the upcoming event near Dallas, "When will they ever learn?" The mother of the other suspect, Nadir Sufi, pictured here on Facebook, believes he was influenced by Simpson, who was his roommate in Phoenix.
They were looking at sites on the internet that were promoting extremist views.
Simpson was charged in the 2010 terror investigation. Though he was on the no-fly list, his messages revealed he planned to travel to Syria to join ISIS last month.
Thought that Islam was a way of life and should be a way of life for most people.
His trip reportedly only halted when the FBI arrested some people in his inner circle. And Simpson's father tells ABC News his son made a bad choice and that, quote, "We are Americans and we believe in America." Marcy Gonzalez, News Channel 8.
And joining us this afternoon with more on ISIL's apparent first reach into the U.S., our senior political reporter Scott Thielman, who's standing by for us live at our D.C. bureau. Scott, thanks. Good to see you. I think we have to put this in perspective. This was a terror attack. It did happen here in the homeland. It was hugely unsuccessful, but maybe we've crossed a line now. What do you think?
Well, that's what everyone's trying to analyze as we speak, Dave. Look, yes, the White House did just in the past hour qualify it as a terror attack here in the United States and said that the FBI, as well as other intelligence agencies, are looking into whether or not these claims by ISIL are valid. Look, this took place on Al Bayan, the radio station that the terror group orchestrates and operates, and now all of the claims have to be vetted, whether or not this was an inspired attack, and there is a big difference here, whether it was an ISIL-inspired attack or one that they were directed. If the terror group had direct contact with these two men and told them to carry it out, then yes, it signifies the first time that we would ever see that on U.S. soil. And our crew spoke to Senator Lindsey Graham and John McCain today about that, and Senator Graham specifically was saying, if this indeed turns out to be true, well, that essentially shows us that we're in a new phase in the fight on terror.
Scott, it also shows a couple of things. This was unsuccessful because there in Garland, Texas, they had that place very well defended. They had more than adequate police response there on the ground. They one Garland, Texas cop with a handgun took on and killed two reputed ISIL-inspired jihadis with automatic weapons, so it was hugely unsuccessful. But maybe what we need to start thinking about is going beyond just sort of the magnetometers and the look in your purses and briefcase kind of thing to different ways to defend gatherings and events in this country.
Well, and that's the big question, isn't it? It's to what degree do we want to go to protect events that could be deemed offensive to some of these terror groups.
Or
now,
just targets.
Well, or targets, absolutely, and that's going to be a concern widespread, because now you're talking about subjectivity. What should be something we need to worry a little bit more than another. Now, with this particular case, yes, they had extra security, and the White House was among those echoing the praise for the police officers and security guards who fended off these two suspects, ultimately killing them. But the organizer of that event spoke today a little bit defending the group and saying that in the future they're not going to shy away from hosting similar events. What they're going to do is beef up security. And they know that what they are doing is going to get the attention of terror groups. And you have two men in this case who drove from Arizona to Texas to follow through on this threat. You don't know how you are going to prevent others from doing the same thing who may have been inspired by this act or, as we ultimately fear some say, whether they are directed by ISIL leadership.
And let's be clear, too, the organization that put on that event there in Garland, Texas, was provoking a response, and they got one. It'll be interesting to see if anything comes.
Well, and they defend themselves against that stance. They say they're just using their freedom of speech. But
no
you're right.
question.
Anyone would look at it and say, but understand that there are dangers, that there are pitfalls with going down this road, and that you will upset some people to the degree with which they may want to retaliate.
You're absolutely right about all of that. Scott Thuman for us, live in our Capitol Hill Bureau. Scott, many thanks.
Thank you.